If you wait until after your event to figure out how to measure its success, you've already lost your argument. Measurement is not a post-event activity. It's a planning discipline, and it starts on day one. So today I am going to give you the 5 numbers that you need to define before a single venue is booked, before a single agenda item is written, before you make one design decision. And these 5 numbers, they're the difference between an event that you can defend afterwards and an event that you're just hoping lands well. So let's go. I'm Jenny Howard Maxwell, founder of the Education Institute, Experiential Strategist, and for 2 decades, I've been designing events and teaching event professionals how to turn their work into something measurable, something strategic, and genuinely indispensable to the organizations they serve. So this is the stuff that no one teaches you until now. So let's start with number 1. Number 1 is the business objective. This is the baseline. Before you can measure impact, you need to know what you're trying to move. And I want to be very specific about this because I hear vague answers all the time. We want people to feel inspired. We want to strengthen relationships. We want to build culture. So these are very intentional, but those are not business metrics. And you can't measure intention. The question you need to answer is this: what is the measurable business condition that this event is designed to improve? Pipeline, retention rate, employee engagement scores, partnership conversion, renewal percentage. Pick the number that already exists inside the business and find out where it sits today. Write that down. That's your baseline. And everything you design afterwards during this event should tie directly back to moving that number. And here's why it matters so much. When you walk into a budget conversation next year, you're not making a case from memory or for a feeling. You're showing before and after. You're showing a movement. You've moved the needle here. And so this language is what's going to protect your budget. And if your client or stakeholder cannot give you a business number to attach your event to, that's your first conversation. Have that before you do anything else. So number 2, your audience behavior target. Attendance tells you who shows up, but behavior tells you whether that event worked. And so here is what I want you to do. Before you design anything, define one specific behavior you want attendees to take as a result of this experience. 1, be very specific, observable, book a demo, sign a renewal, apply for a program, refer a colleague, have a conversation with someone in a different department that they would not have had otherwise. Just one behavior. Name it in advance, and I cannot tell you how much this single decision changes the way you design the rest of the event. Because when you know what people need to do after they leave the room, every single choice you make about this experience, the agenda, the networking moments, the speaker selection, the close of the day, it starts filtering through that lens as opposed through the budget lens. Does this choice move people toward the behavior we need? If yes, keep it. If no, let's rethink it. And after the event, you have something concrete to report on. Not a head count, not a feedback score, a behavior. Did people do what we designed the event for them to do? Yes or no? And that's a conversation leadership understands immediately. So for number 3, this is the one that surprised people the most, your emotional benchmark. I can hear some of you already, Jenny, emotion is not a number. Emotion is soft data, and I'm going to push back on this directly. Emotion is not soft data. Emotion is predictive data. Research shows us that consistently, the emotional state someone is in during an experience directly influences the decisions and behavior that follow it. And I just read this amazing book by Lisa Barrett. She's a neuroscience. She works with foundational teaching, and it shows that emotions are not random reactions, they're constructions. And because they're constructed, they can be designed. And because they can be designed, they can be measured. So before your event, you need to name the emotional state you're designing toward. Not a vague, good vibe, a specific emotion. Whether it's trust, urgency, belonging, pride, excitement, confidence, name it and build your experience around creating it. And then you want to build it in a way that you can measure whether it landed. Pulse surveys at the close of the day, structured feedback moments built into the program, pre and post sentiment questions that ask specifically about that emotion that you targeted. When you can show your audience how they felt more confident, more trusting, more connected after your event than before it, and then show these emotional shifts that produce the behaviors you designed for, you're no longer talking about feelings. You're talking about a mechanism, a proven, documented, repeated mechanism for producing business outcomes through human experience. There's nothing soft about that. That is very strategic. So for number 4, the ROI equation for the specific event. There's no universal ROI formula for events. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling you a template, not a strategy. ROI looks completely different for a sales kickoff versus a client appreciation dinner. If it looks different for a 50-person executive retreat versus a 5,000-person conference. It makes most event professionals try to apply the same measurement framework to every event they run. And then they wonder why the numbers never quite fit. Before each event, you need to build the ROI equation that fits your particular event, the brand, and the goals. That means sitting down with your stakeholder and agreeing on these 3 things. What counts as specific return for this event? What realistic time frame is for seeing that return? Because some ROI shows up in 48 hours and some shows up in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. And what data you're going to need to collect along the way and who is responsible for collecting it. Document that agreement. Get alignment on it in writing before the event begins. Then build your measurement plan around it. This is the conversation that most event professionals skip because it feels really uncomfortable to have a conversation before anything has been designed or decided. But it's the most important conversation you will have on any project because it means that when the event is over, there's no ambiguity, no debate over whether it delivered on what you said it was going to. No one redefining success after the fact to match whatever happened. You agreed on what success looks like, and now you're simply reporting against it. So number 5, your follow-through window. The event ends, the work does not. This is where most event professionals stop short, and it's the gap that quietly undermines the value of everything that you just delivered. And here is the reality. Most event ROI doesn't happen when people are in the room. It happens in the 30 to 90 days after they were in that room. The meetings that get booked, the decisions that get made, the proposals that move forward, the employees who show up differently on Monday morning, the customers that renew, the partnerships that deepen. If you're not tracking what happens in that window, if your measurement ends when the last guest walks out that door, you're measuring just half of the event. And you're leaving the most important evidence off the table. So before the event, define your follow-through window. How long are you going to be tracking? 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Who owns the follow-up data once, like in the client organization? How are you going to collect it and from whom? What does a complete post-event report look like and when are you going to deliver it? Build this into the plan from the very beginning, not as an afterthought, as a design decision. Because the follow-through window is where your event's real value lives. And if you haven't planned for it, you won't capture it. So these 5 numbers, business objective baseline, audience behavior target, emotional benchmark, ROI equation, follow-through window. None of these make your events more logistically complex. They make them more defensible, more repeatable, more valuable to every client and stakeholder you work with, and more valuable to your very own career. This is the change I talk about constantly, from event planner to experiential strategist. It's not just a title change, it's a thinking change. It's the decision to start every event with the end in mind, to define your success before you start designing anything, and to report on outcomes rather than activities. That is the change that is exactly what the CPES certification at the Education Institute is built around. The full framework, the measurement tools, the language, and the case study that proves you can operate at this level. The link is in the description below. And if this gave you something useful today to think about, share it with one person in your network who is still measuring events by headcount and hoping for the best, because they deserve to know that there is a better way, and so do you. I will see you next week.